A couple weeks ago, I got a promotion. Came with a small pay bump and a large responsibility bump.
And Mr. Lasky wants morphine, oxy, and Vicodin. He asked if we had a menu, and I said I didn't think so.
That's a party.
If you're trying to become a destination medical facility, you need an area where you can outshine your competitors. And our area is gonna be the breast area.
Thank you for tuning in to USG University, a series of conversations about the artistry that goes into bringing us incredible stories. This series is developed in partnership with Roybal Film and Television Magnet, a secondary school with the mission of building a more inclusive pipeline of college and career-ready students interested in below-the-line roles in television and film. I'm Proma Khosla from IndieWire. Joining me for today's panel are members of the cast and creative team of St. Denis Medical. We have Wendi McLendon-Covey, who plays Joyce. We have Allison Tolman, who plays Alex. We have Elliot LaPlante, our production designer. Woo. And co-creator, showrunner, and writer Eric Ledgin. Today we'll be showing a clip from St. Denis Medical on NBC.
This morning, unfortunately, I found two colleagues misusing one of our on-call rooms in a sensual manner, and it doesn't matter who it is.
Oh man, who could it have been?
Lacey and Paul?
Nope, wasn't them.
No, I think she's back with Dr. Richards in neuro.
Are you serious? They're together?
Man, ever since that guy got hair plugs, he has been unstoppable.
Oh, that whole department's blowing up. Dr. Sullivan just got veneers.
Wait, really? Is there a text chain I'm not on?
I heard someone saw Stephanie sneaking out of the on-call room before her shift.
Where did you hear that?
Hector.
Bro,
I'm sorry, man. You said that was a secret.
Come on, man.
things change when you're in charge. You are out of the loop. People don't want to confide in you, even though you're a very regular, very cool person. But boy, when I was just a doctor, I was a walking page 6. Who has a pill problem? Oh, Mary. Who lost custody of her kids? Also Mary. Yeah, Mary had a lot of problems. You know, all this hanky-panky, it might have been okay in the past, but times have changed. No more sex at work. Come on. How is there a question?
So that was the cold open to season 1, episode 8, Gimme the Scuttlebutt, which is one of my, it's such a fun clip. There's so much going on. It's also one of the spicier episodes of the season, as you can kind of tell from the subject matter. I want to start with Eric, though, because this is probably one of the least obvious, like, very hospital-y settings or situations. So how did that free you guys up as the writers in terms of storytelling?
Yeah, it's interestingly, it came from like a very strong hospital thing. And I think that that's a good template for our show, is something that's based in something real. So I always wondered, like, those shows where those like medical dramas where people have sex in the on-call rooms, is that a real thing? And my friend who's an oncological surgeon assured me it's a very real thing. She got called down to an on-call room when she was a resident to get broken up with. And I was like, okay, that's amazing that this actually happened. So it felt like, okay, that is a starting point for our characters and our stories. Where can that go? And, you know, you start out with one idea, which was like, it gets our people into a conversation about sex, which gets Alex in her head about, you know, is she having enough sex in her marriage, which was something that was very relatable to me and many married people. And then the room sort of piles on these ideas of like, oh, what if Joyce gets really paranoid that she's not in the loop? And it just was such a funny point of view for that character. And sort of one by one, it all comes together in the room of like how to turn this into a story about our characters.
And for Wendi and Allison, there's so much going on in this cold open. There's so many people. There's a lot of like zipping around for the cameras. So what do you remember from filming it? Let's start with Wendi.
Well, I do remember just being in the mindset of, wait, all these people are having sex and I'm not having any. And also everybody knows about it. And why am I the last to know? I'm the administrator of this hospital. I should know about these things. But you know, that just, as we go on through the season, you just understand that Joyce is excluded from a lot of things. And it's because she is a disaster of a person. But also that hospitals are very sexy places. You can hook up in the on-call room and then you can go get a vasectomy down the hall, you know?
One-stop shop.
Yeah.
Allison, what about you? What do you remember?
Yeah, I remember on that day, our director for that scene, for that episode, who's Sharza Devani, she had really specific ideas, and especially in a group setting like that. Anytime we're in the staff room, we're like, woof, everyone's going to be there. Everyone's going to be talking. It's going to be a long day. And she really had a specific setup in her mind of where everyone was going to be so that there was a lot of movement, but that also we didn't have to cover it from another side, which is always a question mark for timing. And also when you're filming ostensibly a documentary, you can't really flip and film the other side because the other cameras would be in your shot. So you're always kind of trying to like make it seem real in that way. And she was really good. She had such a specific idea of where we needed to be, what part of the line we needed to be on. And I remember, Wendi, do you remember me being like, I really don't want to be here. I feel like I'm looking over my shoulder to look at Wendi. Can I be there? And her being like, no.
Yeah.
Like, it will make our day 1 hour longer. And I was like,
Yeah.
then never mind. I will look over my shoulder at her, you know? So.
Well, it's important for, yeah, I can see why that would be like an awkward blocking to have. And then Elliot, I just want to hear from you. There's so much in these two settings, in the break room and in Joyce's office. There's so many props. There's so much detail. Tell me about, like, I want to break down every single frame, but just designing those settings.
Thanks. I think for us, from the very beginning, we focused on how do we bring the heart that we experience in these scripts to the visuals that we're seeing, and how do we make it as authentic as possible. And I think we really leaned into all of these details, right? You see in Joyce's office, behind her desk is full of memorabilia from her time, you know, being a doctor to being an administrator. In the staff room, you see lots of personalized touches from like the staff board that we're always writing who brought in the baked goods for the day. We really just tried to create that same heart in all of our environments, and leaning into our wonderful med techs, like all the little Easter eggs we could find of real things in hospitals. And kind of like Eric said, what are those things that someone who is a medical professional will see and be like, oh my gosh, that is right on. We have that in our hospital. And that's what we were always looking to find in all of our sets.
Do you have some examples from the clip that we saw?
So I would say, I don't know if you see it specifically in that clip, but we have a little fish hook, like fish hooks that have been pulled out of different people, which is a real thing from our set designer, our set decorator, Casey Hollenbeck. He actually had that happen to him, and in the hospital it was removed at, they like put it into the display. So we have that in our break room. I think another great example is Wendi's office. You see like a lot of character notes there, and we see again like her impact she's had on the hospital. And I think that's a really nice juxtaposition, especially because she sometimes does feel removed from things. But we wanted to have that reminder of like, she still is integral into everything that's happening and has had such an impact on the community by all those like thank you notes and like things we see pinned up behind her desk.
Yeah, oh, that's so sweet. And, you know, hospitals are not known for being the most welcoming, warm environments. So for Eric and Elliot, how did you approach and collaborate on finding the right look for St. Denis, even like when we get into the actual like hospital scenes, of which is the bulk of the show?
I mean, I will leave this to Elliot, who has done 100% of the work on that. But I will just say that like from the very beginning, we were so on the same page about like the level of hospital that this was not like a cold inner city hospital, and that allowed us to have a little bit more charm and a little bit more of a community feel while keeping the balance of feeling real. But please, Elliot, who again did all of it.
I mean, yes, like I think from the beginning, Eric and I talked about threading the line, threading the needle, whatever. We talked about how we find the balance between you know, what level we want this hospital to be. I'm a Pacific Northwest girl. I grew up in Washington State. It was really fun to kind of go back to my roots and really think about what this hospital would look like in Oregon, and really try to like root ourselves in place. And so I think that was a big jumping off point for kind of where we landed with the look and feel of this hospital. And we just went back and forth. We would really kind of always check in, really collaborate with all the other departments of how we create a really cohesive environment that feels immersive and authentic to our cast, and to everyone like that comes in to St. Denis.
Elliot is one of my favorite people to work with on the show, because most of my job in working with her is that she shows me stuff and goes, I was thinking this, this, and this. And I go, yep.
Correct.
Well, sort of to that end, Wendi and Allison, I would also love to hear from you about just, performing in those sets, because again, you don't want to feel like you are actually in a hospital, I guess. I mean, as you would as like a patient, but you need to feel that way as your character. And at the end of the day, it is a set. How much are you going to get taken out of it?
It's pretty immersive. I mean, we have an entire soundstage, and basically as soon as you get past like the back of them that's wooden, you're in a hospital. I mean, it's, you know what I mean? It's not like some sets where you're also kind of like moving pieces around a lot. Like some of our scenes are like that, but like the bulk of our hospital, the bulk of where we shoot is the same every single day. So we can actually walk through it and do these kind of walk and talks through it. So it's pretty easy to slip into it. It's harder to step out into the sunshine and be like, oh, it's day, or like, oh, the sun is setting, like that's always kind of disorienting after being on a soundstage. And I will say, like, as far as like the set being kind of homey, like our set has stayed up and there's other stuff that has been shooting on our set in the meantime. And so I will see my character's desk on shows or on Instagram posts, and I'm like, there's pictures of my nephews there.
It feels like a violation, right?
It feels like I'm like, that's my home, which is so insane. But I really do feel like I've imprinted on our set. I've imprinted on my little area, especially.
That's really nice.
As far as Joyce's office is concerned, I wanted it to show that she doesn't go home a lot, and that she sure wants to be a cuddly person, but she just isn't. So all her plants have to be fake because she doesn't have time to take care of them. And she has stuffed animals because those are her pets. She can't feed a pet. So she has little critters all around. She wants to be cuddly, but that's not going to happen. And there's just like little artifacts of sloppiness around, like, a half chewed piece of gum on a Post-it. Like, that's what my office looked like when I worked in an office. It's kind of organized chaos. Like, I know where everything goes. You don't need to know that, but I know where everything is, and there is a method to this madness. And yet you can tell she just pulled furniture in from some closet somewhere. Nothing matches. It's very low budget hospital, but it's exactly what it needs to be.
Absolutely. And then I'm going to actually ask you guys again for my actors, for anyone watching who doesn't know, this show is a mockumentary. So that adds another whole layer of it. And you have to build, I know on a show like that, you have to build these relationships with the cameras, with the camera operators. So can you tell me about that kind of from a performance standpoint?
I've done mockumentaries before, but it still feels odd to just look down the barrel of the camera, like when you're giving a reaction. I've been working on it. I think I'm coming along with it, but I think the mockumentary device is so effective for workplace shows because of the comedy between the words. I think you need those reactions. And I think audiences kind of expect that now from a workplace show, because there's so many docu-series about workplaces. It's just, it's just commonplace now. So I love it. And yes, you have to have a very special relationship with your camera operators because they're dancing around you. And so you have to be very mindful of either ruining the shot or ruining a camera by bumping into it. Like, you just have to be more aware of your movements.
I think that like whatever brand of like gentle psychosis it is, where you go through your life as if there are people, as if there is an audience. I've had that since I was a kid. Like, I've had that, like, this would be the time, I talk to myself. I'm always aware of like, haha, that was very funny. There's no one here to enjoy it, but that was a funny moment that just happened by myself, And so I think I just slipped right into this style, because it was like, yes, now the camera that I have been like, the audience that I've been imagining in my head since I was a kid is actually there, So I really enjoy it. And Wendi always says, like, the great thing about documentaries is that there's jokes between the lines, which I think is so wise and so true, because in most comedies, the jokes are what's written, but in somewhere where you can share things with the audience and you can look at the camera and draw them in, you have all these there's all these opportunities to make other jokes and have other reactions. And then we get to surprise each other, and we get to surprise our writers and our directors, and it just keeps it really alive.
Definitely. And then I would love to hear from actually all of you. Maybe we'll start with Eric about like what was an unexpected challenge in the process of creating the show this first season, which is now out in full. We'll go around. I'll call people out.
I'm laughing because he's an unexpected challenge. I would say
the one that comes to mind.
Yeah. I think the most unexpected thing, just because I had been like close to running a show and hadn't actually done it on my own before. The thing I am a little surprised by was how much I couldn't get away from it, even when I went to sleep. So it was just like, it was in my dreams. It was like I was waking up with an idea, and the problem was that I liked the idea. So I had to actually get my phone and write it down, because I was like, this is going to save me an hour tomorrow when I'm banging my head against the wall trying to think about what it was. So it just never went away. And so I think that was probably the biggest challenge that I am working on for season 2.
Elliot, how about you?
I would say we've been really lucky to work with a lot of these creators, department heads for a long time. So I do feel like when challenges come up, we have such a support team to like navigate things. I would say our biggest challenge in the art department was we had some really substantial builds that had to happen in season 1. Not only did we put up a whole soundstage of hospital, we also did a like city block at Universal backlot of our
Sorry.
And we also did a 2-story atrium. So we were busy. I absolutely loved it. And I do think it was like a really great opportunity to expand our world. But the facade really challenged us. It was building in a different way than we normally do in an art department. It's built to withstand time, where normally we build something that is for a season and then it comes down. So this set had to be waterproof. It had to be engineered. We built an ambulance bay with a 40-foot cantilevered awning. And we really had to be strategic throughout the season of how we were able to shoot that area. And that took like a lot of collaboration from Eric, from her cast, from our directors, from our camera team, to be really committed to like, we're going to do this thing and we're only going to have one wedge for this episode. And then we're going to have 2 wedges. And so I think that was our biggest kind of hurdle to get over. I'm so glad it's done. It's ready to go for season 2. But I'd say that was our biggest challenge.
And then Wendi, other than being out of the loop for gossip, what was the biggest challenge?
The biggest challenge, or I will say the biggest surprise, was that it took almost a full year between the pilot and our second episode. So those of you who are fans out there, we might look a little different between episodes 1 and 2, but that's because of strikes and all of that. Like, we were so excited to get this pilot, and then it was like, oh my God,
yeah,
are we ever going to go back to work? So that was a challenge. And then also, we're on the Universal backlot, so trams go by constantly. And while that is fun to see fans and have them wave at you and be a part of the tour, it's also like, oh my God, I just have to go to the bathroom. Can I just get there? Or, I don't have any makeup on, but the camera's away. But honestly, it's all been a pleasure. It's all been a pleasure.
Yeah. And then Allison, I mean, the strike is a big one, but I'm sure there are more.
Yeah, the strike. I mean, I would say like on the timing front as well, like this show shoots so fast that was both a surprise and a challenge for me because I am a very quick study and I memorize on as I go throughout the day. Like I'll start in the makeup chair and then I read through it and I'm like kind of like, oh, there's a big chunk after lunch. I have that monologue later, whatever. And then I memorize scene by scene, but there's no time to memorize scene by scene on this show because there's no setup. The cameras are handheld. The lights are either already done or they just pop them into place and flip them on. So the only thing that requires any time is like adding in background actors to like fill out the back of a shot. So whereas I'm used to being able to like block a scene and then go back to my chair and have 30 minutes to memorize, that's gone. There's no time. There's no time to memorize in between things because we just shoot really, really fast. So I just had to kind of like adjust my brain for that. And I had to like cram it into my head a little bit faster.
Yeah, well, sort of, I mean, kind of on the other side of that, I would love to kind of just go around, maybe we'd go in the same order and just hear what was something that was unexpectedly easy and just you were like, oh, we can do this, we've got this.
I mean, for me, that's an easy one, is that like just the cast. I mean, I say that because I already mentioned how easy Elliot made my life on the production design side, but it was like casting the show was a beast, partially because I was just like so unwilling to just go with someone for any role. Like every role was like super important to me. And I feel like all the stress of that and the luck of that paid off like such dividends, because you go down and you're just watching people who like each other, luckily and thankfully, make everything better. And you're just like, and even since the first table read, I just like had this long exhale and this like tension release. And I was just like, oh, this works. Like they're creating something really beautiful on their own that's separate from what's on the page. And that's been like a real joy and a pleasure to watch.
Yeah, we'll go to Elliot again.
I mean, really, this show has been an absolute joy. It's really lovely to work on a first season show and get to dive into creating all of these environments. And similarly, you go down to set and you watch it and you're like, oh, this is working. Like, this is fun to see everyone enjoying the space. It's fun to see it translate. And I also just have to shout out my amazing other department heads. We have an amazing costume designer, Alix Hester, amazing DP, Jay Hunter, amazing producers, Meg Shave. Like, I feel so supported. We're always in like constant collaboration to how we can make sure we're creating the most authentic, cohesive environments. And to have that support, like from the top down, from the writers, everyone work with, it just really makes it a joy to come to work. And so often in television, we can do these long seasons and it can be a lot. I spend more time with my art department when I'm working than I do my family at home. So to really like have the opportunity to work with people that feel like such an amazing team, to me, it was just like the dream. It was awesome.
One thing that has been such a joy for me is that every time we do a table read, I'm like, well, that script is great. No notes. And then they send another draft and it's better. And it's astonishing. We have the greatest writer's room. I'm not just blowing smoke. We have an incredible writer's room. And to your point, Elliot, everybody in all departments has been a pleasure. I can't speak for all the actors, but I will say that I've never felt like I was in free fall ever, ever, ever on this set. Everyone is really good at their job and there's no slack to be picked up. So it's a pleasure to come to work. It really is.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I don't want to like just tread the same ground, but it is really a joyous set. Like we do really enjoy each other. The crew is incredible. Our background actors are incredible. We spend a lot of time together in the same iterations because we're almost always in the same setting. So we're with our background actors over and over and over again. We interact with the crew really closely because, we're in these sort of close quarters. And the thing I love about making television and making films is that it's like the collaboration between an actor and a camera crew and where's the boom going to be? And like, I just really love all that stuff. I think that's so fun. And this is like the best crew to ever do it. I also have loved, actors are used to pretty crazy hours, long days, fratter days, which is what we call it when you work on a Friday that goes into Saturday morning. And it was not an accident that it was a priority, I feel like, on this set that we get people out of work efficiently, and we make our days as short as we can while still getting what we need. And then we get everybody home to have a life outside of set. And that priority, the fact that that was prioritized, I think was really felt in that we were able to be fully present and able to be pleasant at work for every single hour of every single day, because we weren't working crazy schedules and we're working these like coveted sitcom hours, which, for an actor is still a 12-hour day, but that's a short day for an actor. That's a short day for us, so it's still a long day, I think, by a lot of industry standards. But compared to a lot of situations I've been in, and I'm sure that Wendy's been in, it's just an absolute dream to be somewhere where it feels like it's prioritized, that everybody also gets to go have a life and be with their families and just be elsewhere,
Well, I do want to follow up on that though, because, the snipers on off camera aside, potentially, like everyone does kind of have to say that, like it's built into the job to also then have to talk about it and act like it was fun, even if it wasn't. But it seems like you can also really tell when it's genuine. But since this panel is kind of geared towards students, so I would love, Eric, if you have any advice to share with people about assembling a team like that really is able to work and also enjoy each other's company and then be efficient. Like making your days is not a small thing. Like I would love to hear anything you have to share about that.
Yeah, I mean, when you're young, and as I once was, and I'm thinking about when you're first starting out, I think you can sort of like start to build those habits even when you're just starting out and making stuff with friends, because it's like pick people who share your sensibility both as a person and as a worker, and those are two different things. And so I struggled with partners where we were making like free sketches, like there were no stakes to it, but it was sometimes clear that some of us had different priorities, not just in terms of like the voice of what we wanted to make, but just like how much we were giving to this thing, what sort of dynamic were we willing to accept in the process of it. And so I think you have to start to set those boundaries as early as possible so you get in the habit of it, because I think it's easy to take on this story that's been told that like you just have to be lucky to be in any situation you're in and just accept it and take it and work with it. And I just don't think that that's true. And obviously there's a certain level of openness and not everybody has to be exactly like you. But I think that like having limits is certainly okay, even as you're getting started, and it's going to help you because it's going to push you closer to the types of people that you want to be working with. Not to get it all into like manifesting, but I think it's just math. It's just going to like push you more and more to the type of people you want to be with.
I will say one of the things that makes Eric a good showrunner and our entire producers team really good is that they're accessible. They were accessible to me. Like I would text Eric and be like, we're shooting a scene tomorrow and there's a leap in logic and I can't wrap my head around it. And he would get on the phone with me and be like, what's going on? What's happening?
Be like, look, unfortunately, you're right.
Unfortunately, you've spotted an error. No, and like the writers, I would be like, I really missed this other joke that was in the table read. Can we put it back instead of, and they'd be like, sure. You know what I mean? Like I really, as an actor, really like working with writers and producers who are not so precious about their words that they don't trust you to make them your own and they don't trust you to collaborate with. When you're working with writers where everything has to be letter perfect exactly the way that they've written it, it just sucks all the joy out of the performance. There's no collaboration and it's a real bummer. But I mean, Eric was always available to me whenever I had a question or a concern. Our producer Simon's door was always open. I could always call him and be like, what's going on with this thing? I just think being approachable and like kind of blurring that line is really helpful in getting your actors to like trust you and give you their best stuff and be vulnerable with you and say, I think that it would be better like this. Can we try this? That's how you get, I mean, you hired us to do a job And if you give us like the reins to like help you find that, then that's going to be better for all of us, you know?
I would say if you're someone who's a slacker on the group project, don't even bother trying to get in this business. You will get out. Life will be very miserable for you. You have to be collaborative and you have to be able to own your stuff. Okay. And by stuff, I mean shit. You just cannot leave people in a lurch. You have to take full responsibility. And there are times when you will be required to go above and beyond. And you better not second guess that. Just do it.
Mm-hmm.
Just do it.
That's great advice. Honestly, I just echo all of that.
Yeah, I do have another performance question for Wendi and Allison, because, you know, it is a hospital, so things get serious on the show from time to time. Like even in the clip that we saw when Joyce says Mary had a lot of problems, I feel like you kind of played that straight because it is pretty serious. So how do you handle those shifts in tone?
I mean, especially in a documentary style, you just have to play everything as straight as you can muster, given whatever the subject matter. For me, certainly, like, I mean, Alex is kind of the straight man throughout, and so whenever I'm not sure, I think I just try to play it as straight as possible and trust that like the parts of it that are supposed to be funny will read as funny, and the parts that are supposed to read as serious will read as serious, as long as I'm trying to be as grounded as I can be, you know.
Mm-hmm. And we're technically hearing all these things for the first time. So that's why you play it straight. Mm-hmm. It's not supposed to be funny necessarily to our characters. The audience can find it funny, but we can't be playing it for laughs. We just have to tell the story.
Yeah, for sure. Well, thank you all so much for joining us. This was an awesome conversation. St. Denis Medical just finished its first season. It is streaming on Peacock for anyone who wants to catch up, and we'll hopefully see you soon.